Tonight, a chilling, sobering new assessment of the real terror threat against America as President Bush gets set to name the first intelligence czar. This man could be Iraq's new leader. We'll tell you who he is and what it might mean for the country. Hospitals charging one price for the insured, a much higher rate for the uninsured. How can that be? CBS News investigates. And what are they doing to Bugs Bunny? A dramatic makeover's coming, and we'll give you a preview tonight.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. This was today's message on Capitol Hill. Osama bin Laden and other terrorists are still out there, and they will try to strike this country again. In Senate testimony, the new chief of the CIA laid out a sobering new intelligence assessment of al-Qaeda and other international terror groups. The terrorist threat, he said, is clear. But CBS's David Martin reports how, where, and exactly when they might attack. All that remains as murky as ever.
In his first public testimony as Director of Central Intelligence, Porter Goss gave a chilling assessment of the terrorist threat still hanging over America.
It may be only a matter of time before al-Qaeda or other group attempts to use chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear weapons.
The vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee read from a CIA report about terrorist attempts to steal nuclear material in Russia.
We find it highly unlikely that Russian authorities would have been able to recover all the material reportedly stolen.
Then he asked Goss this question.
Is the material missing from Russian nuclear facilities sufficient to construct a nuclear weapon?
There is sufficient material unaccounted for so that it would be possible for those with know-how to construct a nuclear weapon.
Can you assure the American people that the material missing from Russian nuclear sites has not found its way into terrorist hands?
No, I can't make that assurance.
And that may be what's most alarming, just how uncertain even the most senior officials are about the threats facing this country.
Iran, for instance, a hardline Islamic regime which is believed to be developing nuclear weapons. The head of the Defense Intelligence Agency testified today Iran could have a nuclear weapon in 5 years. But Israeli officials have told President Bush Iran is only 6 months away from being ready to build a bomb. Vice President Cheney has warned Israel could launch a preemptive strike against Iran, but a knowledgeable source says neither Israel nor the United States has good enough intelligence for a preemptive strike, although not for lack of trying. Iran today accused the U.S. of using unmanned drones to spy on its nuclear facilities. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
There was at least one top intelligence official who wasn't talking about the terror threat today. That's because 2 months after Congress created an overall director of national intelligence, the post is still unfilled. But as CBS's John Roberts reports from the White House, that could soon change. John, what about it?
Dan, CBS News has learned that President Bush is expected to soon announce his nominee for Director of National Intelligence. The DNI was supposed to be the person to connect the sort of dots that were missed ahead of 9/11. And the fact that that position remains vacant drew criticism from Democrats today. Senator Jay Rockefeller declaring it an unacceptable delay that has hampered the war on terror. Republicans, on the other hand, say they would be concerned if President Bush were rushing to fill such a critical position. No question, though, it has left a power vacuum in the intelligence community. And the longer it goes on, analysts say, the more difficult it will be for the new director to wrap his or her hands around the problem of intelligence reform. There has so far been nothing official from the White House, but a couple of names that have been out there. William Studeman, the former director of the NSA, and General Jim Jones, the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. Thanks. In Lebanon, Monday's car bomb assassination of a former prime minister provoked a huge outpouring of grief and anger today as Lebanese from all walks of life and religious beliefs came together for his public funeral. And CBS's David Hawkins reports from Beirut, most of the anger was aimed at Syria.
If Rafiq Hariri's murder was intended to frighten or silence critics of Syria's occupation of Lebanon, it backfired. Today, more than 150,000 mourners shouted anti-Syrian slogans and blamed their meddling neighbor and Lebanon's pro-Syrian government for Hariri's assassination. Some wept, others fainted as his coffin was carried through Beirut's narrow streets and finally laid to rest at a seaside mosque. In a country known for sectarian violence, Hariri's death brought together Muslims, Christians, and Druze. In life, his appeal crossed the lines that have bitterly divided this country. The former prime minister and billionaire businessman did more than anyone to rebuild Beirut after years of civil war. He had recently moved to join forces with politicians demanding that Syria withdraw its 15,000 troops from Lebanon and was expected to lead the opposition in elections scheduled for May. Despite a claim of responsibility by an unknown Islamic radical group, Syria is still the #1 suspect.
It fits totally with the pattern of Syrian behavior in Lebanon. It's a rogue state. They control everything in the country, everything. I cannot imagine that it is possible to assassinate a former prime minister without the Secret Service having any clue about that.
Rafiq Hariri's political party is called Mustaqbal, in English, the future. And it was hope for the future that he symbolized for the Lebanese people. What worries them now is that his assassination might signal a return to Lebanon's bloody past. David Hawkins, CBS News, Beirut.
Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan gave the U.S. economy a good report card today, but signaled the Fed will continue raising interest rates, trying to keep inflation in check. He also said he approves of personal investment accounts for Social Security, but said they should be introduced slowly and cautiously. President Bush took his campaign for that and other big Social Security changes to New Hampshire today. In an interview, he said he's open to raising the yearly limit on Social Security payroll taxes, but said he will not raise the tax rate from the current 12.4%. The president has been giving his plan the hard sell ever since his State of the Union address 2 weeks ago. How's it playing with the public? CBS's Jim Axelrod samples the response in our special series, Eye on Social Security.
Just a few miles from where the president was selling, we checked in to see who was buying.
He's bringing it on the table where others haven't. I respect that.
And what's been cutting through when it comes to changing Social Security.
The thing that stuck is that he wants private investment.
And that's where it seems to end for the president in pushing his top domestic agenda item, at least in this coffee shop. After personal investment accounts, you hear the same thing from Republicans.
He needs to get into the details.
Democrats.
His speeches just usually don't have any information in them.
You mean specifics?
Yeah.
And independents.
I would prefer more detail.
You'll find something else across the board in New Hampshire. In the latest poll, just 13% say Social Security is in crisis, though more than half say it has major problems. What do you think? Is Social Security in crisis?
No, my perception is that it's an engineered crisis.
But here's the striking thing. Those poll numbers are spread out among roughly the same numbers of Democrats and Republicans. So in this country, so divided, the two sides can't even agree what color the sky is. Here's an issue, and a huge issue at that, which seems to offer some common ground.
Because it affects us the same. It doesn't affect a Republican different than a Democrat, Social Security. So therefore, I think we'll probably look at it in the same light. Now we'll have different varying solutions.
But solutions require details. And if this one coffee shop is any indication, they can't come soon enough. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
The Food and Drug Administration is hoping for a solution soon for the millions of Americans concerned about the safety of their arthritis pain drugs. Experts in the field are now meeting to weigh the benefits and risks. CBS News medical correspondent Elizabeth Callahan has been monitoring the testimony. Elizabeth?
Dan, as expected, this first of 3 days of hearings into the safety of the popular painkillers known as COX-2 inhibitors was packed and at times tension-filled. Dozens of experts, ranging from doctors to drug company researchers to government officials, gave an FDA panel the most detailed, up-to-date science available, looking at the risks and benefits of the drugs, specifically Celebrex and Bextra and the over-the-counter painkiller Naproxen. The debate now is over how to manage the known cardiovascular risks of these drugs. The FDA panel is expected to come up with advice by late Friday about how the drugs should be used, and an FDA official said today the agency will act as quickly as possible on the advisory panel's recommendations. Dan.
Elizabeth, are these closely scrutinized hearings likely to affect more than just the fate of these particular painkillers?
That's right, Dan. The sense is that these hearings really represent the beginning of a new chapter on drug regulation in this country, and that from now on we'll see much more attention paid to the safety of drugs after they hit the market. Dan.
Elizabeth Caledon, thanks. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, could this man become Iraq's new leader? We'll tell you who he is and what he believes in tonight's Inside Story. Then later, the plight of the uninsured. Why do folks without health insurance get charged so much more than those with insurance? Eye on America investigates. But first, CBS News honors fallen heroes. Jamie Gray loved cars and trucks. He worked in a Chevy dealership, was a big NASCAR fan, and a heck of a mechanic. In the Army, he was the guy who could fix anything. Gray was killed by a roadside bomb. He rests now on the Vermont farm his family has owned since the Civil War. At his burial, a Civil War cannon was fired in his honor. The U.S. military in Iraq today reported another American Marine killed in action west of Baghdad, while an accident killed 2 more U.S. Army soldiers north of the capital. Also today, a new videotape showed a kidnapped Italian journalist pleading with Italy's government to save her life by withdrawing its troops from Iraq. Post-election Iraqi politics is focused on who will become the new prime minister. CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports on the man who now appears to have the inside track in tonight's Inside Story.
The man emerging as the consensus candidate for Iraq's winning Shiite coalition is neither a holy man nor an extremist. Iraq's next prime minister could be Dr. Ibrahim Jafari, an unassuming physician who spent years in exile in London.
He is a man who believes in dialogue. He is a man who believes in reality. He does not live in the world of apocalyptic religious people.
His Dawa Party website urges the Islamization of Iraq. Dr. Jafari says he does not.
He is not one of those people who want to impose their religion on others.
He supports women's rights and individual freedom, a platform sure to produce a sigh of relief in the White House, where some had wondered if America's gift of democracy to Iraq would end up producing an Iranian-style religious state. Nor is he pushing for a timetable for pulling out U.S. forces, as some more extreme Shiites have. It is a flaw when there are multinational forces in a country, he says, but there's no reason to compound the flaw by pulling the troops out before the nation is secure. Dr. Jafari counts on the coalition to keep him safe. Long a player in Iraq's previous interim administrations, he lives in the heavily guarded U.S. Green Zone, and he's comfortable in the halls of American power. Still in the running, however, is Pentagon darling-turned-pariah Ahmed Chalabi. He fell from favor when Washington accused him of leaking secrets to Iran, and U.S. troops raided his home seeking evidence. There's been a thaw in U.S. Chalabi relations of late as his political fortunes have risen after he maneuvered himself into an alliance with the majority Shiites.
Either candidate would be seen as a signal that the Shiites want to reach out to Iraq's different ethnicities and faiths and its coalition supporters. A shrewd political olive branch showing they're willing to compromise. For now. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Baghdad.
You're watching the CBS Evening News, and up next, he got sick while uninsured. Then he got the bill. Why do people without insurance get charged so much more? Eye on America investigates. A class action lawsuit has been filed against a West Virginia hospital by patients without medical insurance. One of dozens filed by uninsured patients in the past year against hospitals in 26 states. It's not about the treatment they've received, it's the sticker shock. Why are the uninsured being charged a lot more than other patients? CBS's Wyatt Andrews investigated for tonight's Eye on America.
For Ed and Diane Jellison, it was the perfect storm of bad luck. They had just dropped their health insurance to look for a cheaper plan when one morning Diane found Ed unconscious.
He was blue. He didn't respond to me at all. And so I just immediately called 911.
Ed was rushed here to Florida Hospital, where for 18 days he was treated for a brain infection that destroyed his short-term memory.
He had to learn to read all over again. It was like he never had known how.
And then the bill arrived, $116,000.
How would you characterize a $116,000 bill?
Price gouging.
As Diane studied that bill, she discovered an open secret, that uninsured patients routinely face hospital bills 3 or 4 times higher than patients with insurance. Take Ed's bill of $116,000. An insurance company would have paid just $65,000 to $80,000. Medicare would have only paid $12,000 for the same care.
Florida Hospital appears to be worse than a used car salesman.
KB Forbes is an activist for the uninsured.
These guys are giving the uninsured markups of 400, 500%.
Is it like this everywhere?
Yes.
Hospitals claim there is only one sticker price for a given service. However, Medicare then gets a big discount. HMOs and insurance companies negotiate a discount, and at the end, it really is only patients without insurance who are ever asked to pay full fare. Why is that? Florida Hospital's Rich Morrison says the hospital is stuck in a bizarre and broken system. He admits that the sticker prices at hospitals have to be inflated to balance out all those discounts.
I use the word bizarre. So hospitals were forced to come up with some pricing structure that would try to account for this mishmash of how we were being paid.
Just breathe normally.
Florida Hospital says it helps the uninsured, giving away tens of millions worth of free care and operating this clinic for the uninsured. That means most of the people stuck at full sticker price are uninsured patients with assets, patients like the Jellisons.
We simply asked for a reasonable price. They just did it their way to try to stick you with it.
The hospital has tried to settle with the Jellisons, but at prices they've rejected. They admit they owe money, but have gone to court arguing that a system that produces a bill like this should be sent to intensive care. In Orlando, Wyatt Andrews for Eye on America.
Whatever your taste in art, you'll probably agree this is pretty amazing. A New York auction house sold these 2 examples of fine art for nearly $600,000. Part of a famous century-old advertising series. The paintings depict 5 dogs playing poker, with the St. Bernard on the left, bluffing his way with the pasteboards to a big win. Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Warner Brothers isn't bluffing with its plan to change, update, and generally modernize a certain rascally rabbit's image. We'll have the buzz on the bunny next. Now for some news about American culture. Some big changes are coming for one of America's most popular television stars, Bugs Bunny. Bugs is pushing 70, and like so many other Hollywood stars, well, let's just say he's having some work done. So, CBS News correspondent Bill Whitaker, show me the bunny.
The news broke in today's Wall Street Journal. An extreme makeover of Bugs Bunny. He's becoming a lean, mean, futuristic fighting machine, more Darth Vader than the Bugs you knew. Warner Brothers is pushing the wascally wabbit and his Looney Tune buddies way into the 21st century. He's a crime-fighting character called, for now, Buzz Bunny. So,
what's up, Doc? This is just a further evolution of the characters with a concerted effort to make them contemporary, hip, and cool to today's kids.
This definitely isn't your daddy's Bugs. The news hit the blogs like a pie in the face. Someone tell me this is all a big joke, and continue to draw me like this, Buster, and we'll both be out of work. And on the playground, changing the bunny isn't funny.
What do you think, Kenny?
That's an evil Bugs Bunny, I think.
But since the bunny was born in the 1930s,
From the halls of Montage,
he's had many incarnations.
Limited edition.
Everybody remembers this.
Yeah, what's Opera Doc?
But will people go for the new rabbit? Debbie Weiss runs an animation gallery.
And what do you find is the most popular Bugs?
A lot of the vintage art. It's really, really rare. It's hard to find, but it's very, very popular.
The old Bugs.
The older Bugs, yes.
And what would Chuck say? Bugs Bunny's animator, the late Chuck Jones. His family told us today you can't go back and change an icon. They're creating something new.
Bring it around town!
And what can you do in a multi-channel world of cartoons? Warner Brothers says You've got to create buzz.
What's up, Doc?
Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Hollywood.
And that's part of our world. Coming up shortly, 60 Minutes Wednesday. Jose Canseco has a lot more to say about steroids, and he tells Mike Wallace tonight. Plus, Annette Bening on her Oscar nomination and her marriage to Warren Beatty. 60 Minutes Wednesday, tonight at 8, 7 Central, and at the usual time tomorrow for the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on cbsnews.com. Brought to you in part by Walmart. Good jobs, good people, great opportunities. Come grow with us at Walmart.